Okay, there you go.
Hello everybody, how is everybody this afternoon? Everyone's looking good, lots of comments, lots of chit chat from Louise in the chat box. Thank you for turning your volume down. You always forget, every week you forget to turn down your volume, don't you? How are you today, Louise, okay?
Yes.
Sound
Very
okay?
good. I've been greeting everybody individually today, which is something I don't normally do. I don't know why I started it today.
Nice one. Hello everybody. So can everybody hear us? Can everybody hear me? And Louise, can they hear you?
Can you hear me?
If you can, we will carry on. Yeah. Everyone, you survived, lost a month and a half. Negotiator Mike.
Oh my gosh, Tom, you've had COVID.
Tom, not Mike. See, it's gone.
What is wrong with you?
It's wrong, isn't it? I know. I got a brain like a sieve.
Oh my goodness.
Terrible, terrible. So, everyone, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We are still in lockdown. We have got, I think the government said, at least another 3 weeks of lockdown. So
there's nothing you can say, is there really?
What can you do? What can you do?
You just can do nothing, really, apart from stay in your house.
Stay in your house. We've been told, or they're planning on bringing out more laws to say that you can only go out once a week for exercise, which I think is pretty serious, isn't it?
Once a week for exercise is, well, that's scary, isn't it?
Do you know what's going to happen, don't you?
What?
Everyone's going to follow. Oh, it's all right. It's Joe Wicks. All right.
I don't know why you've got a problem with Joe Wicks.
Because that's my name, isn't it? Joe Wicks.
It's a
Look,
good
lovely curly hair and a little bit of a beard. Everyone be following me now on YouTube and follow and get in my app. Joe Wicks. Anyway, that's enough of that. So yeah, we can all do workouts in our own home, can't we? We can all get resistance bands and do strength training and all that sort of shenanigans. Yeah, so at least 3 more weeks, isn't it? Yeah. I can see it being longer myself.
So can I.
Absolutely.
Lucky we've all got At the Bench. I don't know why I'm still doing the Joe Wicks voice.
Lucky we got At the Bench to watch, isn't it? I'm from Essex, yeah. Lucky we got At the Bench. Yeah. So there we go. Right. Okay, before we start our question and answer, I got something to say. And I have to print this out because it's really, it's not. So you may remember back in November, Louise and I did our broadcast, our 12-hour, and I've written it all down because I need to write this all down. So remember back in November that Louise and I did the 12-hour marathon. And it was the first one, and like the first one in May, we nominated a charity. So all you lovely people could donate as a way of saying thank you to myself and Louise for the live streams. And those of you who watched the last 12-hour live stream may remember we nominated Cancer Research UK. This was because a good friend of ours and one that has become good friends with you all via social media was suffering from lung cancer. His name was Mark Goodwin. Well, I'm saddened to say that Mark passed away last week. We were all really shocked by the news. Mark knew that the cancer was terminal, but he also contracted COVID over the Christmas period and his health declined rapidly. Mark had an amazing career, firstly back in the 1960s with the band The Interns as their drummer, and they released a couple of what they call hit singles at the time. He went on to be in the band with Lonnie Donegan. You know, There's Your Chewing Gum, Lose Its Flavour on the Bedpost Overnight, and My Old Man's a Dustman. Yeah, so he was a drummer in Lonnie's band from about, I think it was like 63 to 75, something like that. And Mark travelled the world with Lonnie and his band and has had such amazing stories to tell about his travels. It was around this time that he met his wife, Andrea, who was a dancer. Is it the ballet school, Royal College of Ballet, is it? Yeah. She was a dancer on several television programs that Mark performed on and appeared in the Royal Variety performance. And as you can see, Mark is, do you remember Freddie Bird, the guy who used to go and all that sort of thing. He's the guy in the middle in the velvet jacket, and Mark is just tucked behind to the left. So you met Andre around this time and had, I think it was 2 boys and a girl, some children. He later set up a musical instrument shop in London, and when he retired, he was the head of training at Venture Capital Wales and had many, many hobbies. He was an amazing photographer, but his latest passion was jewellery making. Mark became a member of At The Bench, and he used to visit us at the shop regularly to chat about all things jewellery related and tell us tales of his life. Mark was so interested in jewellery that he started selling his photography equipment and started buying jewellery tools instead. He had quite an impressive workshop and was soon making jewellery for his friends and families and neighbours, and he was even undertaking repairs for a local jewellery shop too. Mark was a very talented man, and indeed he will be missed by us all here at the shop and by his friends he made on all the jewellery Facebook friends.
Thank you, Andrew. That was a lovely tribute.
Thank you. Thank you.
He was just a remarkable man who led a remarkable life, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah.
And the one thing I will remember about Mark was his passion for learning, and he never stopped learning. He was talented in so many different ways, wasn't he? But he never ever stopped developing his knowledge and his skills.
No, he always wanted to learn. He was always reading books. You know, the book there was Hamish's jewellery making book. He was a member of At The Bench. He was like a sponge, and he soaked up so much knowledge. We chatted about all sorts of things. If he couldn't do something, I chatted to him about how to do things like that. And he was a truly remarkable man. He had so many tales to tell. I just wish that he had put something down in paper, because it would have been an amazing book that he sort of had, or he could have put together. So yeah,
But his passion for learning is what I will always remember him for, and that's inspirational to all of us, I think.
Absolutely. He just, how old was he? 70, 77, something like that. He was. He just kept on learning all the time, didn't he? And he kept going saying, "Have you seen this tool? Have you seen this tool?" And he bought something else, and we swapped books, we swapped instructional DVDs, the lot. So yeah, he was an amazing man, taken far too soon.
He leaves a good legacy. Yes, he does, Susan. Yeah, he leaves a very good legacy.
Yeah, so yeah. All right then.
Okay, shall we have a question?
So it is Monday the 11th of January, and it is now time for our question and answer. So Louise, do we have our first question, please?
Yes, we do. Mike is asking, what is the Lion Claw Golden Torch used for? Oh, have I missed? No, sorry, Romy, I've missed your question. I do apologise. Have you used the Lion Punch forge adapter, and is it a good purchase for those who don't have a Graver Max, etc.?
I'm actually waiting for one to arrive on my doorstep. The Lion Punch Forge gentleman, can't remember his name off the top of my head, I do apologise for that. He was going to be sending a little parcel out to me at the end of last year, but things with COVID and you know, the presidency and all those sort of things happened in America. He didn't get around to doing it. I did remind him, and he's going to be sending it to me. I don't know much about it. All I know that it fits upon to obviously your flex shaft, and it does slightly reciprocated, very similar to the GRS. It's not going to replace the GRS because that is specific. This is a good alternative. So I will find out what it's like when I receive it. That's all I can say at the moment. Yeah, finished mine.
This is lovely.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah. Next question.
Okay. So, I'm going to go back to Mike's now. Sorry. What is the Lion Claw Golden Torch used for? It really doesn't give a description of how it is used.
The Lion Claw. I don't know what the Lion
Claw Golden Torch.
You're going to have to find that on the internet for me so I can have a look.
Okay. Do you want to know the question in the meantime?
Lion Claw Golden Torch.
Ooh.
No.
No, I don't think that's what we're looking for, is it?
No. Don't know.
The
Lion Claw Gold Edition Soldering Torch.
Is that it?
Oh, is it soldering tool? It's the tool, is it? It's not a torch, it's a tool. The Lion Claw Gold Edition Soldering Tool. Yeah? Is that what you mean? No, just copy the link and paste that in the chat, please.
This one, from this
Yeah.
From here?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, from Pepper, yeah.
Is there...
Yeah. Just post it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so is it this thing that you're on about? And all it does, there's lots of devices out there. It's a simple holding down tool. There are lots of devices out there. Some people will use things, I'm not quite sure, this guy called William, who has one of the Facebook jewelry groups. He's developed this little device very similar to that. All it is simply a hook that's slightly weighted, and it just holds things down. That's all it does. So for argument's sake, there's lots of these on the market. You can make them yourself. Really, you could even use these. You can even use your third hand. So to be honest, if it was me, just use your third hand like this. Yeah, you got your third hand, and all you got to do is put that down, lift the base up a bit, push this down a bit like that. So as you solder, this is just pushing down. And if there's a gap under here, you've got pressure coming down from here. So personally speaking, I wouldn't buy one because I've got a third hand, and you can do exactly the same thing with that. Here's my golden claw. Oh, the claw. Sorry. And that will provide enough pressure just holding down because of the weight of the base. So personally, I don't need one. But all it is, it is simply a tube, isn't it, that goes like that. And this comes out like this, and on the end of there is a little claw. And it's just the weight of this just pushing down on this direction here. That's all it is. Some people have used things like a round ball that sits on a little pad like that is weighted. Again, something like that. But there's lots of things out there. Personally, I may get kicked. I won't be getting one now if I say this, but personally, I'd use my third hand because the majority of people have got a third hand. How much was it, Louise, anyway?
What?
How much was it?
The lion's claw?
Yeah.
In dollars, $95.
What?
Say what?
What? Save your money. Save your money. Buy a year's membership to At the Bench instead. Far better. May we have our next question, please?
Hand. Okay. Billy is asking, would fumes from things stored in a garage, paint, insecticide, oil, gas, etc., make silver soldering more difficult?
Oh, because we
were talking about this last week, weren't we?
Always go back to this about soldering being really difficult when it comes to the garage. I don't know. It's a
common problem, isn't it?
We'd have to try this. We're going to have to infuse our garage with fumes, petrol, diesel, paint, just to see if it works. Because I don't think it would affect the silver soldering, because the heat involved would burn anything that is on the surface. If you file your pieces of work, you buff it with emery paper and so forth, you're going to clean anything, any residue, any sort of anything that would be falling onto the metal. That would come off.
Hot garages. A lot of people say it's in a hot environment, but then that should make a difference. If it was a cold environment and you're heating cold metal,
but then the torch heats it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's a really big
We
problem,
really don't know,
isn't it?
but we do have. It's about twice a month, 3 times a month we get this question.
It's a common
We have
question.
problems soldering when we're in the garage, so we're going to have to look out for it, I think. But yeah, I personally don't think it would make a difference, but I don't know from experience. So if there's anybody near me in the UK that I can go and visit after the COVID restrictions have been left.
You love a road trip, don't you?
I would love to go. I would love
excuse.
it. Let me out of this place. That Louise and I can go, okay? So Louise and I would like to come to your garage if you're having problems soldering, if you're local-ish, as in the UK. If you're inviting us and you're in America, pay for our tickets, we'll be there like a shot. We'll be there like a shot. Canada, Fuerteventura. If you're having problems, Janet, with your
research, but Giles gone to the dentist.
Oh,
Yeah.
What?
I know, she didn't have permission.
Oof.
I don't remember saying
I
she could go to the
don't
dentist.
remember seeing her note. She didn't leave a note saying, please may I have excuse. No, but I am serious. If there's anybody in the UK who is having problems with their soldering in their garage, please drop us a line. We would love to come and see you when the COVID restrictions are lifted and come and see exactly what the situation is. I've put it out there. Yep.
Okay.
Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Julia is asking, I have a simple third hand with reverse action tweezers, but it is difficult to get it to hold things securely. Any tips, or should I just invest in a GRS solder station? And it's your birthday soon, so happy birthday, Julia.
I have the crocodile clips that go upon the soldering station. The advantage with these third hands is that you can take off the tweezers, and I know that the ends here, when they get really hot, they can become slightly bendy, but just simply bend them back into shape. I love my third hand so much that I think the base is actually completely burnt off the bottom of it. I would never be without a third hand, because you can use it in place of your green lion, your, what's it called?
Your lion claw golden torch.
Your lion claw golden torch, yeah, save your money. But yeah, so if you find that your tweezers, here's the base here, okay? If you find your tweezer doing that on the end of your cross-lock tweezers, and you've got like a ball by here, the ball's going to go flying out. So why not just bend them parallel? And this is the advantage with these tweezers. You can just simply bend them in whatever shape you want. Now, don't forget, they're pretty cheap, the tweezers, because you can replace them in the third hand. You can buy these really cheap. You can buy them off eBay. You can buy them from Cookson, Rio, Otto, whatever. Really cheap. So get yourself a few pairs of these bent nose or straight nose cross-lock tweezers. You should have no problems with them. If you are having a few problems, I would then perhaps recommend you getting some of the titanium clamps that you can get from New Concepts. These are very good, made of titanium, but they do exactly the same job, and you can bend these in place just like you can with your third hand. So no, again, I wouldn't waste your, I'll be hit now by Josh from GRS now. I wouldn't spend your money on the GRS, because all these items here are just as good for your soldering needs. So I wouldn't spend, I'm not quite sure the soldering station's a few $100s, I think.
Nice to have though. It is nice to have.
Absolutely, it's lovely to have new tools. If you've got all the tools, then you can, what can I have next? Yeah, buy it. It is a great soldering station. It fastens onto the front of your dovetail plate here. It's got spaces. You can have those crocodile arms that come across. You've got your soldering pad. I find the crocodile arms, they're not crocodile arms, because they're like carbon rods. They're great, but they're not as good as these. So if you're short of, if you're short of, and you want a nice birthday present, buy yourself a nice, you know, whatever, nice torch, nice Fordham, nice, yeah. Anyway, next question.
Okay, Mike is asking, what is the dapping die used for? It's inerted? Inerted?
Dap die set? Yeah, dapping set. Like
the dapping
dome.
die set, it's inerted.
Inverted?
It says inerted, but
I would have thought it's beginning, yeah. So we can, get this one from here.
Watch my feet.
Watch your new boots. Louise has got some new boots. Heaven forbid. Okie dokies. So this is, I was a bit close to that camera, isn't it? Let's try and make the camera a bit wider. There we go. So this is Durston's Dapping Set. Okay, so this is Durston's Dapping Set. Americans call them Dapping Sets, we call them doming blocks. Doming blocks, I think, is a better word, because yeah, that is exactly what it does. It domes. Depressions here, matching, you know, like this. Yeah, so the idea is you get a bit of metal, like a round bit of metal like this. You get your dapping set. Let's start off making it a little bit larger. There we go there. So you put your metal in the dapping set like that. Does that fit? Nope. Yes. Pop it in. Pop that on top. I'm short of mallets now. Where's my mallet gone? Oh heck, it's all over there. I'm just trying to find a mallet now. Here we go. And again, it's a brand new mallet. So, okay. Sorry about this. Haven't prepared this question. New mallets from Durston. Okie dokie. So there's my little bit of a disc in my dapping set. Punch it on top. Bang, 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 bang. It becomes slightly domed. You can go into the next one smaller. You can go smaller again. You just go down in size. Next one. That one there. And you can... Okay, so the idea is then you can make domes that look something like that. And from those domes you can do all sorts of things. You can make the domes, you can make them completely hemispherical, then you can put them together to make balls. You can solder them together, you can put them on a string, you can make sort of lentil beads, you can make that as an embellishment, it goes on top of a ring, on top of a bangle, and so forth. Don't have to be round, it can be square, it can be triangular shape, it can be lots of things. But yes, UK we call them dapping sets. No, domain blocks. In the US you call them dapping sets, but that's exactly what you use them for. And also for shaping square pieces, rectangular pieces of metal to get that nice curve. Lots of things, but as long as you can get that nice concave shape, it'd be absolutely brilliant. I just realised I'm missing 5mm, 4mm and 3mm, so I wonder where they are. There we go. Oh, yeah, most probably. Right, next question please, Louise.
Okay. Natalia is asking, what refinery do you recommend here in the UK? I have a scrap pot from Cookson's, but I don't think that includes emery paper, baby wipes, etc., which I've been collecting. Okay,
so I would not use Cookson. Cookson, I don't think, give you the best prices at all. So what I would do, I would use a company. There's two companies I would use. Personally, I use a company called Plus Gold. Okay, they're in Spencer Street in Birmingham. Okay, so what you want to do, you've got your Lemel, which is your filings, okay? So that goes in one pot, but all things like your baby wipes that you wipe your surfaces down with, your emery paper should go in another pile because of the cost involved in refining and the return, all right? So, and also in the same street next door is Betts Metals. So those are the two companies that I would use. They've been my number one, they've been my number two. I find I get more money from Plus Gold than Betts. The idea is that if you have your Lemel, you send it off to one of those companies, and what they will do, they will melt it down, simply just melt it down, assay it, and give you what is worth, what the monetary value of that is worth, okay? If you've got things like your baby wipes and you've got your emery paper and so forth, then that has to go into a big kiln to be burnt off. There's a little bit more process involved with that, and the costs are different depending if it's Lemel or whether it is sweeps. So yeah, those are two companies that I would use here in the UK.
So we even empty the vacuum cleaner into the...
We do, yes. Yeah, but everything. You know, as you say, you use your baby wipes, yeah? You can also, there's another company called Pressman Master Melt. They're pretty good as well. But just depends. The thing is, it's better the devil you know, the devil you don't. That's what I say. But yeah, we will sweep the floors. It goes into our Lemel. Louise hoovers the shop. Okay, so the shop
and only Louise.
I do it now and again. Come on. So the idea is then that we hoover the shop, but everything from that hoover then goes into the sweeps bag. When we come to replace the carpet on the stairs coming up into this workshop, we will then put that carpet into the sweeps bag to be sent off because there's precious metals in it. When we take up the floor into the workshop downstairs, which we will be doing hopefully this year sometime, we will not be, it's amazing, isn't it? we will not be throwing that away. We'll be bundling that up and sending it, or taking it, because that's going to cost too much in carriage. We're going to take that to one of these guys. And because there is precious metals in it, so everything has to go in these bags.
I thought you were joking when you said that. You are sending the floor off to be refined.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Because there's money in it, isn't there?
Is it worth it by the time you ship it to...
We won't be shipping it because
Oh,
they'll
you'll
either come round to collect it,
Oh, okay.
or we will take it up there if we're
Wow.
up there.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's
And
true.
it's still worth it.
Yeah, yeah, because the guys in Hatton Garden, you know, for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years walking up and down the stairs, they will rip up all the floorboards and they will send the floorboards off, and they will get hundreds and hundreds of pounds from all the precious metals in it. And obviously, as years go by, the precious metals go up, so it becomes more economical. You get more return now than what you would have done, say, 20 years ago.
How long has the floor been, what is it, 20 years old?
Downstairs, 15. You can see it's wearing through.
I'll have a holiday when the floor comes up.
Shut up. Don't be so. Next question. Thank you, Louise.
Okay, Yvonne, starting to work in gold. Well, gold filled for now. So bought what I thought was gold solder for gold filled from Rio, but it turns out it's solder filled gold.
Right, okay, yeah.
Do you know how it's used?
So solder filled gold is a way of making something that then you don't have to add solder to, because there is solder sandwiched inside the gold. So, where's my pen? There is it. So the idea is, especially this happens if you go to a chain making company, you will have the wire, and within the wire you may have, you won't see it, but there's all running through the wire, you will have a little bit of solder, okay? So the idea is then, is that when your jump rings come together, okay? Or when it's made, those jump rings will come together so the surfaces are touching, all right? When then that goes through a kiln on a conveyor belt, the atmosphere does not let the metal oxidize, so then the heat will actually melt the solder, and as then these surfaces are touching, what you'll find is that that joint will be soldered. So that is what solder filled gold is. Yeah, there we go. Does that answer your question? Is that what is solder filled gold? Yeah, I don't normally deal with anything to do with a gold filled at all. I'll leave that on there for a while so you can see. But yeah, but good for practicing and playing around with gold. Absolutely. It's pretty much the same. All right then, Louise, shall we have another question, please?
Okay, Warren is saying bubbles in soldered joint. Any explanation?
What solder are you using? I expect you're using solder paste, perhaps. If you're using solder paste, put it to one side. Never use it unless you're soldering tiny little jump rings or tiny chains, something like that. If you're using it for soldering ring shanks and bangles and nice joints like that, never use solder paste. Always use proper solder with a flux, like we use a borax cone or all flux, something like that, and then actual strips of silver solder. You should not get anything. If you are still getting air bubbles, it's usually because you're overheating the solder, and the solder will start to bubble because solder will get to a certain heat. It's molten.
Hard solder.
Just hard solder on its own. No solder paste.
Just says hard solder.
Hard solder. You could be overheating it. What I would do, okay, you have, say, a ring shank you're soldering, okay? You put your bit of solder on the top of here. You've got your flame. Take that off now. Okay, you've got your flame coming by here. Here's your flame. Okay, if you start to put your flame on that little bit of solder, what you're going to find is that little bit of solder is going to get to temperature, and then it's going to get too hot. It may start to bubble, and then you're going to be causing all the other alloys to burn off and so forth. Because this has a little mass, it's a small little area, whereas the piece that you're soldering is quite large. So then what I would do is direct your torch onto the shank itself to bring this up to temperature, and allow the metal that is in contact with the solder to melt the solder. So the torch is heating this up. When this gets up to the right temperature for the solder to melt, if the solder is in contact with the metal, and you've got the flux running down here, the heat from the metal will melt the solder, then the solder will flow. You don't have to rely upon the torch to heat the solder. A lot of them, we all do it, we all heat up the solder as well, we move the flame around. But if you concentrate the heat on this little thing here, it's going to bubble, it's going to overheat, and you could cause bubbles from that way. So always rely upon the piece you're heating up, really, to be the gauge of the heat, and it will melt the solder when it is ready. But you weren't using solder paste, it was hard solder. Okay, cool. All right. Next question, my dear.
Okay, Gillian is asking for recommendations and reviews for new saws.
New saws?
What is the best saw? Can't decide which is the best saw to buy.
I'm not going to go on a rant.
I was going to say.
I'm not going to go on a rant.
The S word, haven't I?
I'm not going to go on a rant. Okay, me, a little, what's this called? An Eclipse. This is such a simple saw, okay? I'll put the name of this saw down. This is an Eclipse PS5. There's nothing fancy. There's nothing special.
Something quick release, please.
Okay, so this is the brilliant saw. Okay, quick release.
For arthritis. Not an adjustable one.
Not one of these. Not an adjustable.
If you hate it so much, why have you got it?
Why do I? What?
If you hate it so much, why have you got it?
So I can rant about it on like every other question and answer. Okay. Go to New Concepts and buy yourself one of these. Okay? Make sure it's the one with the lever over the top, like that.
I find that one difficult to use. Which one do you find difficult, Julie?
Which one do you find difficult? This should be so easy and straightforward. You put the blade, you put this over this way, you put the blade in, this blade is snapped, and then you just push that for a lever, and it just tightens it. There's no pushing it against your sternum or this way to try and get the tension right, because you should get the blade right every single time.
The first one. The adjustable one was the one you found difficult to use.
Oh, what, this one? Find that one awkward to use.
That was the first one, of course.
This was the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. This is the first saw I ever bought, and it hasn't gone wrong. This was the second saw I bought, or this is the second, the incarnation of them. I've had a couple, and we've adjusted these, and we've had these put on at a later stage. But yeah, this I think for me is one of the best saws out there. With this simple little quick release, you simply put the blade in place, you take the blade out, blade in, tighten, not even hard, and then to tension it, then you push that over. New Concepts. You can buy these with these little clamps here that swivel. They're a lot more money. Basic one like that, it's fine. It's no worries at all. That means put the blades to one side. Anything about, are you like Victoria, like your adjustable?
Sometimes I think the least said about saws, the best.
Don't start me off on saws.
What does Susan say? You get, is it frothy?
I get frothy.
Frothy.
I get frothy.
Can't remember. What do you say, Susan? It makes me laugh. Should we have another question?
Yes, let's leave the saws now. Yeah. Next question. But yeah, New Concepts, I would always advise yes.
Okay. Cecil is asking, what are some types of matte finishes I can do on gold? I've seen some really rustic looking jewellery and I can't seem to create that effect with my current brushes.
You can get a really nice finish. If you get some really coarse emery paper like this. This is 60 grit. Really coarse, and you can get a little bit of this and you can just do a nice random pattern all over the piece. What I'd advise you to do is to polish the piece first to get a nice shine, then use something like that over it. A Gary Flex block is another sort of a slight abrasive, and that is just a simple block of rubber that is like that, and on the outside here is all almost like emery paper. This is all foam on the inside and it's covered on the outside. Gary Flex, that's called G-A-R-Y-F-L-E-X. Gary Flex blocks, and you can get them in various grits. They're ideal because they can bend to the shape. As long as you go all over in a random pattern and not directional, you should get a nice pattern with that. That's pretty good. You can also get a glass fiber brush that is like a propelling pencil, sort of like this, like a propelling pencil, and instead of the pencil lead on the end, there's like a brush, and that's glass fiber. Should really use that with water so you don't get the glass fiber getting stuck into your fingers, and that would give you a very, very fine, light, frosted effect. And again, always go in a random direction, which will give you a nice pattern. You've also got talk about patterns and matting for hours and hours and hours. These I absolutely love. These that way, there we go. So these are, I can never remember what these are called. Satinizing somethings. I can't remember what they're called. Satinizing rotary doofers, yeah. So these go in your flex shaft, and as the flex shaft turns, these metal pins come over and they hit the metal and put a nice sort of a dappled frosting. You can get these in various, not grits, but various thickness wires. So the thinner the wires, the finer the pattern, the thicker the wires, the coarser the pattern. And there's two different varieties there. They go in a flex shaft or a Dremel. You can also have these slightly bigger that will go on the end of a bench mounted polishing motor as well. So that's another idea. You know, you've got these little Gary, like I did like Gary Flex, Everflex wheels, like these little guys here. These rubber wheels, again, they're very directional because they're completely, they're turning in one direction. So anything like that I've just mentioned, experiment, and you should have some lovely sort of matte finishes. Yes, Louise?
Jill is saying wear gloves, those glass fibres hurt.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's why I suggested you do it in water as well, so the water washes away the glass fibre threads. Absolutely, yes. I think we should all have some PPE these days, shouldn't we? So we should all have some of the gloves to use. But
they're not going to be enough to protect you, are they? Just like a latex or
yeah,
those
would be fine.
Okay.
These fibres aren't thick at all. They are thinner than a hair. They are really fine. But yeah, underwater, definitely, you don't want to be breathing them in. Quickly say to Audrey, just joined At The Bench, can you tell me about your online course info? Would there be more formal courses coming? Audrey, I think I replied to you a few days ago on the ticket. I explained that the projects that are on At The Bench are pretty formal because they start at the beginning and take you through how to produce that project. If you want to learn how to do sawing, piercing, soldering and so forth, just look them up in the search bar, go to techniques, and all the techniques will come up: polishing, soldering, sawing, forming and so forth. You can check out all those particular films. We are producing still an online course starting right at the beginning, all about piercing, that will be releasing very shortly. It will be an actual course, and that is structured from start to finish, taking through all practice pieces and so forth, and then the actual pieces for you to make. That will not be part of At The Bench. That'll be a standalone course, but At The Bench members will be able to buy that course at a vastly discounted price. That course material is all brand new, and At The Bench members will not have seen it, and they will not see it unless they take out that particular online training course. But all the projects that are contained within At The Bench take you through from start to finish. No one assumes that you know how to solder when you start the project, because we take you through every single step of the way, step by step, on every single project. So we don't necessarily say, well, here's the ring, make the ring, and you can carry on with the project. We never do that. We always take you through from start to finish in all the projects. We don't necessarily jump ahead. We always take you through all the techniques. You can see everything happening, but all the projects are like that on At The Bench. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay. Kristen is asking, is there an easy way to straighten thicker round wire?
How thick?
1 mil?
Yeah, there's a...
Comes off the spool a bit wonky sometimes.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. All right, so the best way to straighten out some nice thick wire is to get yourself something like a steel block or a steel surface or a nice thick perspex bit of block, okay? So you get that like that. And what you would do is, and I'm going to demonstrate on a spare bench peg that I have lying around, do I have a bit of wire, Louise, can you pass me that big box of that Tupperware box? It's quite heavy, please.
This one?
Yep, with all the stuff in, please.
It's not that heavy.
All right. So the idea would be, if I can just quickly grab something in here that I can quickly demonstrate. 1 mil wire, it comes off of the spool, yes. So let me just quickly do this. So we've got a little bit of wire here. It's going to be out of shape, and what you can do is do this. Okay, so there's my bit of wire. Which camera are we going to go on? That bit of wire there. Okay, so my bit of wire is a little bit. Okay, the idea is now try and straighten it as best you can. You may want to grab yourself a hammer, rawhide mallet, just to try and straighten it as best you can. Okay, so the idea is you get your rawhide mallet, you get it, you try and straighten it as best you can. Okay, so that's pretty much as best you can. Okay, so it has to be able to be rolled, and the idea is then you get your bit of wood, you pre-wood on top, and you literally go roll it back and forth like that, and now your bit of wire should be absolutely perfectly straight. Okay, so that is how you would get a fairly shortish bit of wire nice and straight. There we go, perfectly straight again. But what happens if you but my wire is 6 inches long, or my bit of wire is 12 inches long? What would you do then? Right, you get a vise. You put your bit of wire in the vise, all right? Tighten up the vise nice and tight so it clamps it nice and tight. Get yourself a pair of parallels or some pair of mole grips, like those grippy pliers that lock. And then what you'd do, you would put your wire in here, you'd hold on to the pliers, and you just gently pull it. Some people will go yank, 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 yank like that. I don't tend to do that because you don't have enough control. So what I'd be inclined to do then is just get the wire, and as you pull the wire, it restricts it, and then it'll go, and it'll relax slightly, and you'll feel that wire just ease, and the wire will get slightly longer, and it's as if all that tension's been pulled out of that wire, and the wire's gone, you're not gonna let me, okay, I'll let you go. Sorry, it's the way I am.
Is that how the wire talks to you, Andrew?
the wire talks to me, and the wire will end up absolutely perfectly straight. So there we go. 2 ways to get your wire straight. Next question, my darling.
Okay, I worry about you. Right, Marcia is, I missed that question, no. When joining 2 ends to make a ring, how do I prevent getting a joint line showing? I think the problem comes from me manipulating the stock too much to make the fit tight. Any suggestions? Sorry, read that again. Is it just normal, is it shank, did you say, making a ring? When joining 2 ends to make a ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'd be inclined to do is make up the band, okay? So you have the ring that does that, don't you, like that. Okay, so that's the ring. Yeah. What I would do though is when you make it, overlap the ends like that. perhaps not one on top of the other, but looking down on top. Why am I singing that? I don't know. Okay, so that's, okay, so you overlap the ends that way, okay? Then when you pull back, almost like when you've got a big jump ring, pretend you've got a big jump ring, you always push the jump ring together to produce that bit of tension, then you bring it back into position. Then your bit of wire then will be like that. Then what you can do is look at this joint and decide, can I improve that joint? Can I see daylight through it? Is it not straight? If it isn't, and it's only very slightly, grab yourself a little bit of emery paper. Ooh, I don't have any paper. And fold it in half, put it between the joint and move it back and forth. Okay, so you'd have there's your, that's right. So here's your joint here. Here's your emery paper. Move your paper up and down to close the joint. You can pass a saw through it as well, or alternatively, go onto YouTube, look up one of my YouTube films. And I think I've entitled it, "You've Been Making Rings the Wrong Way," or "You've Been Taught the Wrong Way." Check that out, because that gives you a surefire, guaranteed way of making rings up. Yeah, perhaps if you may get 2 seconds, can you look for that? You've been making rings the wrong way,
yeah,
on YouTube, and then post it up on the chat.
Okay.
Would that be right? Yeah, we get 2 seconds. Yeah, cool. And that would be the best way of making sure that joint is perfect. That's about it. I'm actually for the next question now, even though you just started doing that.
That's okay. I'm so sorry, Sandy. It looks like I missed your question out. I do apologise. Best method for inlaying opal chips into a ring or pendant, for example.
Okay, this is getting quite popular, so I think I'm going to have a go at this. What people have been doing recently is grabbing gemstones and smashing them into small little chips. And from those chips, they are making up a ring with a profile that is like that. Okay, so that's the profile through it. From the outside, we've got like that, and that comes that way, that comes around. Oh my gosh, I can't draw these days, Louise. This is absolutely awful. Oh, Andrew. Yeah. Okay, so the profile's like this, okay? I just having problems drawing today. So these are that's the cross section. And the idea is you get your little chips, okay? And you mix the chips with a resin, with the clear resin. You can buy a 2-part resin. Some people are using things like super glue as well to mix up all the chips. And you just simply push the chips into the channel, all right? And the chips are obviously sticking out like this. The chips go into the channel. Here's all your chips like this, mixed up with the resin inside this groove. When it dries, then what you would do is use perhaps a diamond file to remove all of this off the top so it's all nice and level, and then you would polish it on your polishing mops to do it. Is that what we were after? That was the question, wasn't it? Making chips, yeah. Australian pub, yeah. Yeah, so that would be the best way. And if you had sort of like a pendant, and you had, you know, a teardrop pendant, and providing the pendant has a border, has a raised edge, you could inlay chips in here with resin, a clear 2-part resin, and that would be just fine for that, to be able to inlay. It is getting very popular at the moment. So yeah, there's quite a few films on YouTube showing that as well. Some people do use super glue to do it. I've never tried it, but I'm gonna have to try it, I think.
Does that discolour over time? Will it yellow?
Don't know. You can get resin that doesn't yellow over time. You can. I think,
super glue.
No, I wouldn't use super glue. No. Right. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay.
Nope. Or do you have anything else to say? No?
No, I don't think.
Yeah, not too smashy, as Susan says. Yeah, make sure that there are little chips that people can see. Yes. Yes. Next question then, please.
So where would you buy chips? Or would you smash it yourself?
Well, we've got their son is a lapidary artist, so he's had access to all the bits and pieces that get cut off. I'm sure you can buy chips. I don't think you can buy stone chips. You can buy things like precious metal chips. You can buy, even us, but if you bought rough rock, rough tumbled stones that can be tumbled.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
You fall setting
when you fail to set
an opal. Yeah. Or then you have lots and lots of stones, so don't throw them away. Yeah. But you can buy little tumble chips, can't you? That to put in a barrel polisher. You can polish, and you can use those.
You probably would need some sort of eye protection though.
Eye protection, heavy hammer.
If you're going to chip.
Put them within a bag.
Yourself,
put them within a bag, something like that, under something. Yes, and smash undercover. Yes. Okay, Sandy, thank you for joining. Do appreciate it. Love you to share your results. Don't forget you can post your creations in the members gallery when you're on the dashboard. Up on the top it says gallery, and you can add your project to that. Next, may we have another question, please?
Yeah. Ear to the ground, newbie question. What's the best gauge for pendant base and sides? I cut opal and just started smithing.
Base and sides, if you're on about bezel, you can do... Is this gentleman in America? Because I'm going to have to get my conversion tables out again, aren't I? If you're in the US of A, you have metal gauges, don't you? It's a gauge. So here in the UK, we just deal with millimeters. So the base of perhaps a bezel would be perhaps 0.5 millimeter, which here is 0.5 millimeter. And in the US is going to be something like 24 gauge. For the sides, depending if you're using fine silver or sterling silver, fine silver, which is virtually pure silver, you can get away with a slightly thicker bezel. You could go up to about 1 millimeter, which then is going to be in the region of 19 gauge, 18 gauge for that sort of thickness. Or if you want to go to about roughly around about 20 gauge for the sides, that should be plenty. Fine silver, you can get away with a thicker bezel because it's a little bit more softer. Sterling is a bit harder because it's been alloyed down to 925, so you'd have to have a slightly thinner wall. And yes, as Tom says, give this film a thumbs up.
You got his name right!
Because I called him Mike earlier and you called him Tom, and I thought, damn, his name's Tom. Sorry, Tom. But yeah, give us a thumbs up if you like this. Do appreciate everybody's thumbs up. Thank you very much. May we have our next question then, please, Louise?
Yes, you may. Isabel would like to set on a ring a large Baroque pearl, about 1.8 mil high and 2.3 mil broad. Would you file the pearl to create a flat bottom or leave it round and high?
I don't think I would file it because you may break it. You would put it into a setting as it is. Okay, so say you've got your ring is that. You're not saying how you're setting it, but I expect you're going to be setting it, say, onto a bezel, and I'll do this huge, okay? So here then is your Baroque pearl. I understand what you mean about filing the bottom, so that would fit perhaps the contour, but then the pearl gets thinner. You could end up chipping it. You could be chipping off the nacre off the pearl, which would then cause it to chip and to flake. So I wouldn't really touch that. So what I would do is when that goes into place and the pearl is by here, so it does this like this, what I would do is perhaps get what people do. People use sawdust to go underneath these little areas, and this would be sawdust, quite coarse sawdust for the bezel, for the stone, the pearl to sit on, so it'll level it. Some people will use something like an epoxy resin to go in place a little bit in this area here, just to take up these gaps, because the pearl will move around. You may want to take away a little bit as well, perhaps from the inside the ring shank here, so the pearl will go slightly further down. But anything that will take up some gaps, some packing. What else can you use? Some Thermolock. You can use a bit of Thermolock. Warm a bit of Thermolock.
sawdust with your epoxy resin, or would that be just counterproductive?
Yeah, I thought you could do, yeah. See no reason why not.
Negotiated, Tom is saying silicone.
Yeah.
Natalia's suggesting set it in resin in the bezel.
Yeah, exactly. But anything that's going to take up that gap.
To stop the rock.
Yeah, you could use something like glass cement, which is slightly a rubber, that would give it a little bit of concussion.
Bondo. Milliput.
Milliput's ideal, yeah. It's like a clay that hardens in air. But yeah, anything like that you can push the stone onto, so the actual, what you're pushing it onto takes the shape of the stone, and that will stop the pearl from rocking. But yeah, good question, that. Thank you for all your answers. Do appreciate it. Maybe have another question then, please, Louise.
Yes. Sorry, I've got to catch up now. Okay, Sandy, can you please advise on the best, easiest method to oh, we've done that one. Yeah, okay. Crushed pearls, yeah, UV resin. I don't wear a mask. This is Sandra. I don't wear a mask except for COVID reasons. I need to be safer. When do I need one? Is a respirator best, or do I need an extraction system too?
Again, I've seen a few people now put extraction systems on their benches, on their soldering benches, particular, to take away the fumes. Yes, you can do. I just think if you're careful, and I'd always advise you to wear safety glasses. If you're using a bench-mounted polishing motor, we've got a Durst one over there. Make sure it has extraction, so it sucks the dust away. If you can't afford an extraction unit, get a little cowl that goes behind the mops and put like a vacuum cleaner or your Henry into that to suck all the dust or the air out, and also perhaps wear a mask. Obviously very important. These little masks that you get now that we've got for the COVID, these little like surgeon's masks are a bare minimum. You should have something that fits you, like they have 3M masks that fit around your face, and the little metal strip that goes over your nose. They're absolutely brilliant, and I would definitely wear them if you're doing polishing. If you're at the bench like this and you've got your flex shaft and there's dust and there's polish being brought up, safety glasses. And yes, I wouldn't go to the extent of a respirator unless you're doing that for hours and hours and hours, but something that covers your mouth, that stops you from breathing in the dust. Absolutely.
You should have something when you're lost wax casting though, shouldn't you? You
should have something in line with that when it comes to dealing with the investment powder, because there's silica in it.
Gypsum as well. Gypsum's not good to be...
Exactly, yes.
Is that the same thing? Is that investment powder gypsum? Yeah. Okay. I just called it something else.
Yeah. But yes, what was the question? So, again, when you use things like solder paste, there is like there is smoke given off it, and that's why I never use solder paste, because I never like it, and I think it's bad anyway. If you use a normal flux, a normal solder, there aren't hardly any fumes that come off it, because there's nothing there to cause a fume. If you're doing it and you're really unsure, perhaps open a door and a window in the room so you get a bit of a through draft, so there's no stale air, there's no air that's not moving around. Something like that. Do that in front of a window perhaps if you're soldering. But yes, a mask, one of these little surgeon's masks here that we've got are a bare minimum. These sort of things now that everybody's wearing, and you can just simply put that over. Anything like that would be sufficient, as long as it goes over your mouth, and it would stop it. Mask like that. It's got to be better than nothing, isn't it? Next question, please, Louise.
You can take your mask off.
Next question.
Oh dear. Okay. Mary Ann is saying, I had no trouble soldering in my sunroom until fall arrived and temperatures dropped. I have been opening the door for ventilation when the room was just too cold.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it?
Horatia is saying, I have no problem soldering in the garage, but there's no paint or petrol, etc.
Okay.
So that's...
Okay, I see Madge there, it solders in front of an AC window unit. Even better. Nice.
Tom is in Arizona. It gets real hot. I take my silver out of the pickle, clean it off and solder, no problem. Susan, garage is not a good place to strike up a torch, quite.
There's a question there from Leslie Davis is just saying, is the yellow paint? Yes, it's a yellow ochre paint to stop solder from flowing. Yes, but yellow ochre. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I just got a different screen to what Louise has got. But yeah, yellow ochre, exactly the same as what artists use. So, all right, sorry, don't give me the glare. Okay, Natalie. Okay, so yeah, can borax cause birth defects? Oh, this is the problem here. I think it's Pennsylvania in America. Everything that comes out of I'm sure Pennsylvania, for instance, has a government health warning on it. When you buy a Fordham SR, in this case, polishing motor, and you have the little turntable like this here, and it comes with little sticks of polish. The polish on there states this polish can cause birth defects. I think they are, I'm not saying well over the top, but yes, take care when you use all different types. Don't forget, borax is used in laundry as well to make your laundries white. It's also good to stop ants coming into your house as well, a bit of borax powder.
But having said that, you should always follow instructions, shouldn't you?
Yes, but if you notice, there's no government health warnings on these borax cones in the UK and the majority of other countries either. So I think this question was brought up, and I think William Hawkes brought it up, saying that some counties in America are well over the top with their warnings, and others aren't.
I don't know, because like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we all used Swarfiga, didn't we? Which now we know
I
to
love
be
Swarfiga.
dangerous.
What's my Swarfiga?
Isn't it carcinogenic?
Is it?
I'm sure it's.
I don't know.
I'm sure there was something in it, something they found, which you'd have to use it a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it comes down to what you're comfortable with as well, doesn't it? Because like I used to take dental X-rays, and when I was pregnant, I didn't take them, and it was probably okay.
Yeah.
Because you take every precaution, but I had the option, and I decided not to do it.
So yeah, up to the individual, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you don't want to use borax, don't use borax. No, a person, again, going back to a little comment, this come up there, Claudia, I just simply use tap water with my borax comb. And don't leave it hanging around in water. Once you put a bit of water in your little tray and you've got your bit of borax in it, don't keep adding water all the time, only add water when you need it. Boric acid is also an antiseptic eye wash. Thank you, Steve. Yeah. Yes. See, this is the thing, it's a minefield, isn't it? Absolute minefield. And I know you don't get borax powder in chemists, because I think drug dealers use it for packing out their drugs, apparently.
How do you know that?
Because I've been down to my local chemist to buy some borax a few years ago, and they said, well, we don't stock
and they said,
that.
we don't like the look of you.
You don't like the Mr. Berry packing out your drugs. But yeah, they don't sell borax powder in the local, what's it called, chemist now?
To you.
Perhaps to me or something. Yes. Argo Tech, there's a problem with that. If you go onto Kerncraft website, there's a safety sheet. I suppose everything that you have should have a safety sheet with it.
Should have a cost, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Control of substances hazardous to health.
Yes. You know, California's extreme, over the top. Thank you, Tom. Yeah. Yeah. So there we go. Up to you. Decide what you need to do. Yellow ochre can be used to cover a joint that's very solid from flowing. Once you have another one, yes, Mike, it can be used. Yellow ochre to stop the solder flowing. Tipex, but then you do get a bit of a flame when you put the heat on that. Some white out, stop out liquid. You should buy a borax box from Home Depot. Okay, show another question.
Okay.
You lost where you are.
I've lost where I was now. Does third hand ever attract the heat away from your soldering metal? Does the third hand?
You do have to sometimes put the flame on the third hand just to warm it up. Otherwise, it does act as a bit of a heat sink. But yeah, you put the flame on the third hand, sort of in this little area by here, and then bring it down to the end here if you're soldering. Otherwise, you'll be there for quite a while. Mike's borax cone is being delivered today. Hope you can manipulate the paintbrush as easy as you do. Thank you very much. Use a practice. They get yourself a few paintbrushes because they do tend to be a little bit, yeah, they wear out. 20 mule team is pure borax. Just the whiteout works fine. Careful you don't breathe in the whiteout when you put the flame onto it, because I think that is hazardous. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay.
You have another question, Louise?
Jake is asking, what is the secret to tri-level metals in overlay? Having trouble with it melting brass, copper and silver.
Say that again, sorry, Louise.
What is the secret to tri-level metals in overlay? Having trouble with it melting brass, copper and silver.
So tri-metal, so you're soldering one on top of the other, like a sandwich? Is that what it is? Yes? Yes? I think so? I don't know. You have it melted. I think you can... Makume Gane, it's Japanese, isn't it? And that's where you have all the different layers. I would cheat. I would simply get a sheet of metal, okay? I would get my 3 sheets of metal. And then what I would do on this middle piece, I would put flux, I'd melt some silver solder on it, okay? And get a solder pick to try and swish it all over. Make sure you get a nice covering all over that, okay? And doing that exactly the same to this one as well. So then you got your bit of solder, all right? So then you have your 3 layers, the 1 layer, your 2 layer, and then you've got your bit of solder on top of there, and this is your 3rd layer, and you've got your bit of solder on top of there. If you have too much solder, you can always file it off. Flux in between here, flux, put them together, and when you heat up the whole thing, then the flux then will make sure that the surfaces are nice and clean, and the solder should melt and flow. And at the end of the joint, then where you've got your 3 pieces, you should get a nice bright flash of solder coming right to the end. If you keep the silver on the bottom, I think the silver has a lower melting point than copper and brass. So keep the silver one on the bottom and put the flame down from the top or from the side here, so the flame does not go on the silver, and then the silver should not melt. I think that's what you mean. The proper way of doing it is just to compress them all within a frame and put that in a kiln so they all fuse together. It's a technique that a lot of people use, but the solder is a cheat's way, but it's the best way if you're just starting out. Use roach kill, going back to borax, 100% pure. Pinch of borax from a balm melts in crucible and clean a porcelain sink and any resin. Yeah, from weed times. Okay, we won't go into that. How about that? Okay, should we have one more question, Louise? Go on, one more.
Yeah, I did save one actually that I spotted, and it was Sandra who is saying someone wants me to make a rugged dog tag for a husband that looks a bit beaten up. Ideas to capture that essence.
Yeah, perhaps just make a little simple dog tag, get a natural stone, natural brick, and hammer it into that brick.
Because you want it to look like aged, don't you? But you don't want it to look... That's why I was a bit intrigued. You don't want it to look...
What?
I don't know. You'd have to oxidise it, presumably, would you?
I think you would, yeah. You could beat it up a bit, couldn't you? Perhaps if it has engraving on it.
How do you age it without it looking completely knackered, I suppose, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit of a line, isn't there, between...
I think your rugged is not as rugged as my rugged.
Funny enough, I said that. I said give it to me to wear for a week. Annihilate it.
So I think it depends on what it is. But I think bashing it against another surface, perhaps if you use mallet or a rubber-faced hammer, perhaps you may be able to get like a few dents and have it slightly wavy. And then use some liver of sulfur, or put it in a bag with a boiled egg crushed up, and the sulfur then will add that little bit of oxidization to it. Oh, hello, Lee, Crazy Mad Fool.
Hi,
How are you, Lee? Good to see you on. Liver sulfur, if it's copper. Thank you, Tom. Yeah.
Susan saying fake patina.
Fake patina. Pen, Sharpie, something like that. That would work. Absolutely, yeah. Okay. I've got to have one more question, Louise. I just don't want to. I don't want to go home tonight. Let's have another question, please.
Okay. What makes expensive pliers and hammers better? Is the metal harder and less prone to marking metal?
I think it's the construction of it, perhaps the closeness of the joints. Perhaps they have their own alloy when it comes to making up the metal. Perhaps the handles are better. Perhaps the springiness are better. You know, I bought a pair of Swanstrom side cutters, and to be honest, I know they've changed hands and Swanstrom now are made by somebody else, but I found them absolutely rubbish compared to a nice basic simple pair. On my desk here, I have got a variety of pliers. These are just simple basic pliers. You use them every single day. They will wear, but I've got pliers downstairs that I use and I've had them for the last 30 years, and they were the most simplest basic pair of pliers. What are these pliers? I don't know, £15 for a set of pliers. They're box joints, so always make sure you get box joint pliers, not overlapped, but they're box joint. They're the best construction you can get. To be honest, I would just simply buy a set. Rio Grande sells sets. I wouldn't spend a huge amount of money because the pliers, you hold on to them, you may file them, you may saw them, you may cut them, and you can customize the pliers. Steve, who's on the chat at the moment, is a brilliant guy for adapting tools for specific needs, but you wouldn't necessarily buy a $30, $40 pair of pliers and then get to work with them with a filer or a welder just to make some adjustments to them. So I personally would not spend a huge amount of money. I've only had, I think, plier jaws snap about 3 times on me because I've been a bit silly in trying to put too much effort onto them. Top cutters, side cutters, I've bought expensive ones in the past. I find that they're not necessarily any better for the price, and I'd rather buy 2 pairs of cheaper. You buy cheap, you buy twice, and that's fine because top cutters will always wear. You can resharpen the surfaces, but they'll always wear down. So, you know, I don't know, $10, $15, $20 for a pair of pliers is going to be maximum what I would pay. Have I tried Tronics brand? I haven't tried Tronics, no. I know they're pretty good, but again, it depends on how you use the pliers. Perhaps if you buy an expensive pair of pliers, you take a little bit more care with them and make sure you put them away after you every day. They may then end up lasting longer. I really don't know, but this is a set of pliers that I got from Sutton Tools about 10 years ago, and they're still going great. Pliers downstairs, the handles may be a bit manky now after about 25 years of use, but they're still fine. And I see no reason for paying over the odds when it comes to things like pliers. I wouldn't buy cheap pendant motors or anything like that. I would always buy a brand, but yeah. Let's have a look. What else we got? Setting an opal ring tomorrow. I'm using the coin template. Should I use flat or round wire for prongs? I would personally use flat wire, because if you're using round section, looking down on top of a stone like this, if you have round section as opposed to flat section or even D section, this wire is going to be in contact with the stone a lot easier than that. With this, there's a chance that these claws, because you've got these little areas by here, there's a chance that the claws can be pulled back. But if you've got like a D section, so it's flat on the inside where it's touching the stone and it's rounded on the outside, that's going to be better because that's going to be in contact with the stone a lot better. Same with rectangular section as well. You push that claw over, but when it comes to this, it's not right. So I would not use round section, definitely not.
I'm looking for Susan's question because there was a couple of people had said Susan's question.
What was if you're on, Susan, just let us know what was the question.
It was to do with estimating.
There's no wine.
There's
no wine today.
Drawing out wire. Any formula for length estimates?
Any?
Formula for length estimates. Susan, I can't find your question. Sorry, I've been looking. Wire draw. Yeah. Formula for length estimate for drawing wire.
Yeah. There is. There's a formula. If you have a 2mm, for argument's sake, diameter wire, okay, and that is, for argument's sake, 10 centimeters long, and you want to make that wire 1mm, okay, diameter, okay, the wire will be 4 times as long. So your wire will end up 40 centimeters long.
Is that what you asked, Susan? Have we done it right?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find the original question for a formula for length estimate for wire drawing. Oh yeah, thanks, Natalia. Yeah.
And like if you have square section, and that's 2mm. If you think about it, if that's square section and you're taking it down to 1mm, you're effectively taking that, aren't you? So that's 1mm, that's 1mm. So you're effectively taking it down to 4 times the length. It pretty much works out round wire, pretty much the same sort of thing. So that would be the formula. Can't work out the formula in my head what that is, but as you can see, you can work it out. But there is a formula.
What's the formula?
Can't remember, but that's the general gist of the idea, isn't it? You take a piece of wire from 2mm down to...
square formula.
There we go. Why didn't we think of that? I don't know. Oh, hang on. Stay there. I may have a book. I may have a book. Oh, I do. Oh, I do have a book. And
50% wire reduction yields 400% length.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I said. Yeah, exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
There is I can't find it now. Calculating the increase in length of round wire through drawing. Right. So you have so the final length, okay, equals the beginning radius. Oh my gosh! All right, squared times the beginning length. I've run out of space. Over the final radius. Oh, that's just too complicated. That is, and that's the beginning length. That's the start. There should be an easy way of doing this. So, if for argument's sake, if you have a 50mm diameter wire.
What's the book, Andrew?
I'll show you now.
Okay.
Yep. 50mm section of 3mm diameter, and you want to take it down to 2mm.
Amco's saying pi times r is your surface.
Okay.
So if r is half, you have 0.5 times 0.5 is 0.25, meaning the surface is 25%. Thus, for the same volume, the surface needs to be 4 times.
Over 1 times 1, which equals 112.5. Yeah. If that all makes some sense, but it's Alan Revere's book. Professional jewellery making, but all the good books, I know Tim McCreate has them as well, but there's so many calculations in the back of all the books, lowering qualities of carat, If you roll down a piece of a flat sheet, it won't necessarily double in length if you take it down in half. You've got to take into account the width. But there's lots of things. But this is professional jewellery making by Alan Revere. But Tim McCreet, Complete Goldsmith, has these as well. So there's a lot of calculations involved in doing this. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Or just practice. Just get a bit of wire. That has to be a better idea, wouldn't it? Get a bit of wire. If you've got a spare half an hour, get a bit of wire, measure the diameter, measure the length, draw it down, see what it comes down to. 2mm piece of wire, take it down to 1.5mm, measure the length, and then keep a little notebook by the side of you so you've got your records as you go through it. Okay, sorry about that. It was a very technical end, wasn't it? To
what at the bottom of a wine glass, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're having a bit of a dry week this week. We had a dry week last week.
Yeah.
Right, before we go any further, that's the end of the question and answer today. Thank you all for your questions. Sorry we didn't get around to all of your questions. Do apologise, but make sure you get on early next time to be sure your questions hopefully will be answered. Yeah, so there's no wine this week, is there, Louise? I know you keep shouting at me. Is there? No. Well, you started. Last week you said dry week. Monday to Friday, we're going to have a bottle of wine on Friday. You said it, not me.
I didn't think you'd do it, though.
So yeah, so we're cutting down the wine a little bit, aren't we? Do you need a draw bench to... Do you need a draw bench to draw down wire? No, you don't.
What was the book called again, sorry?
Alan Revere.
Alan Revere.
Professional jewellery making. There are two versions. I've got both versions. The second version is the revised and expanded. Either version will have it, and also the complete goldsmith, complete metalsmith.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it?
Yep, that's it. Get it on Kindle, it's far cheaper. And also the complete metalsmith.
It is cheaper, but then oh god, it is cheaper, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good lord.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's just
not as good on a Kindle, is it? You don't have
you can't see the pictures.
No.
Not that I just look at the pictures, obviously, because I never do that. I always read everything.
And also Tim, my good friend now, I can't how to spell it, Tim McCreet, the complete metalsmith, complete, yeah, and all of the, yeah. So there we go. Thank you. But yeah, do you need a draw bench? No, you don't need a draw bench to draw down wire. If you've got a nice thick, heavy vise, you can do wire from about 1.5mm downwards. You won't be able to do anything with 2mm because that's too thick. What I used to do, and I will demonstrate, well, I'll put my feet upon here. What I used to do was obviously I didn't do it on top of the bench, I did it on the floor, yeah? So then I got like this, yeah? I hope it didn't fall, I'm gonna go flying. Draw plate, bottom of your shoes, put it through, and then pull. And that's how I used to draw wire down when I first started. Obviously you don't do it on your bench, you do it like sitting down, you know? You're sitting down like this, you put the draw plate under your shoe, and then you pull the wire through. Yeah. Amazing. It was on a Kindle Fire. Lol, nice. Spot of tea. Yes, we're going to go home for tea now. Crumpet and a spot of tea. Mikhail, yes, we do have your save water and drink champagne. Although there won't be any champagne this week, will there? Until at least the weekend. Natalia, she's really rubbing it in. How is your book coming along? Any progress from last week? Do you know what? The amazing thing is we're on lockdown, aren't we? Louise isn't working. I'm only joking, she does work. No, she doesn't work. Do you work? No, you just sit there, don't you, reading your Kindle. So the problem is we've got all this time on our hands, but we still just don't get things done at all. So even today, I was going to come around and do some filming and so forth, but we just got so tied up with the website, because we are trying to do things with the retail side of the website, and that just takes time, replying to tickets and so forth. There's just not enough hours in the day. Even if we don't have to deal with the shop, just don't get time doing. No, just don't know where the time goes. So everyone, thank you very much for coming on today. Do appreciate everyone's questions. Thank you for everybody for your chat as well. Absolutely brilliant. There's been some nice lot of help back and forth. And don't forget, we do have to stress that any information or any help, any chat that is given to you in the chat, if you ask for advice, what am I trying to say, Louise?
You're trying to say any advice taken from the chat,
yes,
is done so at your own risk, I suppose.
Yeah, at your own risk.
Because we can't verify every comment that
comes through.
Yeah. So we can't guarantee the safety of every comment, basically.
Yeah. So if you do take up any advice that is in the chat, you do so at your own risk. Right, everyone, thank you very much for coming on today. And thank you very much for the kind wishes regarding Mark, who sadly passed away last week. Can we bring is the final slide on there at the end of it? Cool, excellent. So everyone, thank you very much. I'm still waiting for the last amount of money to come from YouTube to give the money to cancer research. As soon as all that comes through, the money will be going that we raised during our last 12-hour live stream will be going to Cancer Research UK. It's not just to UK, it is throughout the world. But we did that for Mark, who sadly passed away last week. Lovely guy. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care. See you soon.